Okay, let's unpack this. We have been relentlessly tracking the highly organized agents of the mysterious Black Spider.
That's right.
Our focus has been on the fate of the missing dwarf, Gundren Rockseeker, and, maybe more critically, the location of his vital, sought-after map.
The map is everything in this.
Absolutely. So our deep dive today centers on the audacious infiltration of the hostile, crumbling stronghold known as Cragmaw Castle. This was a mission that was initially conceived as, a delicate, silent rescue, a high-stakes heist.
Right.
But it instantly and irrevocably devolved into an absolute swirling three-way brawl involving shapeshifters, furious bugbears, and terrifying creatures touched by blinding radiant magic.
What's truly fascinating here is not just the chaos itself, but the sheer, unforgiving velocity of the mission's pivot. I mean, they went from calculated stealth to immediate, desperate survival in the span of maybe 90 seconds.
It was that fast.
Oh, yeah. And this was never going to be a straightforward rescue, Our earlier intelligence, particularly from the skirmish at the infamous feeding cave, it indicated King Grol was deeply entrenched in a sophisticated operation.
So they knew it was bigger than it looked.
They suspected. But this is the core discovery, the physical confirmation. King Grol, the powerful leader of the Cragmaw tribe, he wasn't operating independently. He was actively collaborating with a high-level agent of the Black Spider. This confrontation doesn't just raise the stakes from a local goblin skirmish. It definitively confirms the existence and, the physical location of a high-level conspiracy specifically focused on getting that map.
And that's our mission today. The team, having tracked the captured dwarf right to the castle walls after the bloody bits of, Session 2.1?
That's the one.
They attempted a daring infiltration that culminated in one of the most violent, strategically complex, and utterly unexpected confrontations we have ever documented in their history. We're not just summarizing the fight, we're distilling the sheer tension, analyzing the calculated risks, and most importantly, pulling out the critical nuggets of strategic intelligence they managed to extract from the wreckage of that throne room.
Indeed. It's a masterclass in controlled aggression colliding head-on with pure, uncontrolled calamity. The primary mission objectives were simple.
Get Gundren, get the map.
Exactly. Retrieve Gundren and secure the map. What they ended up fighting was far more dangerous, complex, and politically significant than a mere bugbear king. They walked right into the middle of a high-level negotiation and turned it into an assassination site for multiple parties.
So let's rewind a bit. After the emotionally and physically brutal, draining skirmish in the feeding cave, the place where they tragically confirmed the death of their acquaintance Don John Raskin, the party finally found themselves positioned outside the crumbling, water-stained walls of Cragmaw Castle.
And the castle itself is a character in this story. You have to picture it. It's not a secure military fortress. It's a ruin. A collection of dilapidated stone chambers held together less by engineering and more by the sheer force of the tribe's numbers and the terror King Grol commanded.
The physical state of the castle is crucial, isn't it? It really informs their tactical decisions.
It's everything. A proper fortress demands a siege. A ruin, though, it allows for infiltration through neglect. Any approach here demanded acute reconnaissance, but the structure itself, leaking walls, multiple overgrown entrances, it suggested the Cragmaw had prioritized internal security over external defense.
And that's exactly where the party began their effort. Turin, the stout gnome barbarian, proved his worth immediately. He used his finely tuned senses to detect distinct movement and muffled voices behind one of the heavier, less used doors.
But it was the veteran rogue, Ohio Jim, who provided the visual confirmation that truly hinted at the complexity of the internal layout.
Right. He noticed multiple doors, several entrances, all seemingly leading to the exact same central area.
Ohio's observations here are textbook tactical scouting, and they are critical. When multiple paths converge on a single area, that area is invariably the choke point, or the treasury, or the command center. He knew instinctively that this convergence meant either they were about to hit the main layer, or they were about to walk into an extremely redundant, highly guarded security station.
Through a crack in one door, he immediately confirmed the danger level. He spotted 2 heavily armed hobgoblins standing guard. And we must emphasize, these are not the typical easily dispatched goblins we've seen running errands for King Grol.
No, not at all. These are the tribe's elite muscle, disciplined and clearly positioned in an overwatch role, their weapons poised and ready for conflict. That signaled instantly that whatever was behind the next door was high value.
And that intelligence alone should have mandated a retreat or maybe a full frontal assault, but Ohio pushed for more information. His second observation, peering through a different, less obvious cracked door, was the truly critical piece of intelligence that confirmed their deepest fears about the conspiracy. He spied the main target.
King Grol.
And Grol was not the roaring brute they might have anticipated. The description we have is that he was large, yes, a hulking bugbear, but he was unusually calm, almost contemplative, older in appearance than the brutal maniac they had been hunting.
And he wasn't alone.
Not at all. Grol was speaking intently to a human figure whose identity was completely obscured from Ohio's view.
This is the exact moment the rescue mission transformed into a high-risk intelligence infiltration. The tension isn't just palatable, it's suffocating. This was clearly an active negotiation site, a clandestine meeting suggesting Grol was acting as a primary operative for a greater force, not just some petty warlord hoarding gold.
They had confirmed it. The Black Spider conspiracy was physically present and finalizing a deal in the castle right now.
Time was their enemy. Absolutely.
Knowing they couldn't simply blast their way into an active negotiation room guarded by hobgoblins, and with the potential threat of the mysterious human agent, the team correctly realized misdirection was their only feasible shot at gaining entry undetected.
Or at least unannounced. They needed a strategy that leveraged the target's assumptions. They had to exploit the goblins' endemic arrogance and King Grol's assumed position of absolute power. And the deceptive strategy they concocted was utterly audacious. It relied on the ego of the Cragmaw tribe being larger than their common sense.
Audacious is an understatement when you consider the stakes. I mean, Ohio Jim, the rogue, used the tragic memory of their fallen companion, Don John Raskin, by donning his hat as a crude last-minute disguise.
A hat that just screamed, "I'm one of the hapless, disposable members of the tribe."
Exactly. And Valindra, the powerful devotee of the storm, played the absolutely crucial and dangerous role of a captured, subdued prisoner. The entire plan was a colossal gamble, betting everything on the likelihood that the Cragmaw forces were too self-important, too focused on the status of a new captive, to question a solitary delivery man.
It was a deeply calculated risk that hinged entirely on speed and a brazen display of confidence. Had they paused for questioning, the entire plot would have unraveled, and yet the execution was remarkably effective in its opening moments.
So Ohio Jim, in his hastily improvised outfit, he just kicks open the door to the hobgoblin guardroom and, without hesitation, delivers his line. He announced he had a prisoner Valindra for the king.
And the hobgoblins, just as they predicted, they reacted with immediate, cruel satisfaction. The source material highlights this psychological detail.
Yeah.
They loved the sight of a beaten captive being delivered to their king.
They didn't question it at all. Not the legitimacy of the situation or the lone rogue's ability to capture such a formidable-looking woman.
Nope. Instead, their leader, in guttural language, just directed the duo to Grol's chambers.
This is the moment the tactical landscape shifts, isn't it? By exploiting the hobgoblin's focus on torment and tribute, Ohio and Valindra bypassed the primary security layer immediately.
They did. Stepping across that threshold meant they were now inside the heart of the conspiracy, but they had also committed irrevocably to the sudden transformation from actors to assailants. They were inside, but the clock had stopped on the stealth mission the moment Grol looked up.
That initial deception bought them proximity, but nothing more. Now the real negotiation, the real danger, began.
And it began fast.
Okay, let's talk about that moment of entry. Once inside King Grol's chamber, the atmosphere immediately confirmed the worst. It was hostile, grim, and entirely focused on the consequences of failure for anyone opposing Grol.
The room was designed to serve as a stage for intimidation. You had the hulking bugbear King Grol, his unsettling wolf companion, the mysterious, obscured human figure, and then there was the objective, which made the blood boil.
Yes, the sight of the captive. Gundren Rockseeker was visible, and the visual memory the party took away is just heartbreaking. He was clearly battered, badly bruised, and seemingly broken in spirit.
The room itself amplified the brutality. Grim, heavy iron shackles were clearly visible on the back wall, clear, sickening evidence of previous torture and extended captivity. This is the critical juncture where professional tactical needs clash violently with personal, emotional rescue instincts.
They are face-to-face with the objective, but also with the primary adversary and the unseen agent of the Black Spider.
The emotional urgency to act, to stop the torture and secure Gundren, must have been overwhelming.
And Grol seemed to sense this urgency, perhaps even calculatingly amplifying it with a sickening display of control. He stopped his tense conversation with the obscured human figure only long enough to perform an act of pure cruelty.
He dragged the weakened Gundren back to the shackles on the wall, deliberately remanacling his wrists, savoring every moment of his absolute agonizing control over the dwarf.
That move wasn't just physical cruelty, it was a psychological power play. It was a statement of authority not only to the prisoners, but also possibly to the Black Spider's agent.
Right, maybe trying to assert his supreme position in the deal. It successfully ramped up the pressure, setting the stage for Valindra's subsequent explosive defiance.
Which brings us to Valindra's choice. Grol demands she kneel, perhaps expecting the same broken submission he got from Gundren. But Valindra, the devotee of the storm and a force of nature, was clearly done playing the victim.
Done playing the pawn.
Instead of submission, she unleashed her pure, unadulterated rage and a devastating blast of dark energy.
She struck Grol's groin with a powerful spell, what we identify as a truly focused blast of withering, dark magic. Now, let's pause on the tactical consequence of this. She dealt a truly massive blow. For a high-tier enemy like a Bugbear King, a hit like that from an opening move is an absolutely devastating shot.
It immediately shifts the fight.
It forces Grol onto the defensive and proves Valindra was prepared to trade their fragile stealth for a massive, immediate impact. Her declaration, "I am Valindra, servant of Talos," was not just defiance, it was an act of personal, religious, and political war.
It established her allegiance and acted as the definitive trigger for the ensuing mayhem. The stealth mission, already crumbling, was instantly shattered beyond repair.
A brilliant tactical escalation, but the consequence was immediate and brutal. Grol, momentarily stunned by the dark energy but instantly enraged, reacted with a swift, powerful strike, immediately knocking Valindra into unconsciousness.
So the rescue had begun, but one of their agents was already down.
Exactly. And this rapid shift is the moment of the truly terrifying revelation. The previously obscured human figure finally reacts, not with alarm, but with contempt, chastising Grol for being soft.
A strange, chilling comment given the Bugbear King had just violently knocked out a prisoner.
That casual judgment is the first major clue that this human figure is something far more calculating, perhaps even clinically sociopathic, than the savage Bugbear King. And then came the critical, horrifying moment. The figure walks toward the unconscious Valindra and shapeshifts.
Not just subtly, but instantly transforming into her exact, terrifying replica.
This confirms the hidden truth. The human agent of the Black Spider was Virith, a dangerous, highly skilled, shape-shifting doppelganger.
And Ohio Jim, who had maintained his composure during the infiltration, he witnessed this horrific transformation firsthand. The source material notes he was left utterly stunned, bewildered by some unknown, overwhelming magical effect that momentarily locked him in place.
The revelation of the doppelganger is the single most important piece of intelligence gathered in this session. This creature, Virith, wasn't chosen randomly. A doppelganger is specifically selected for infiltration, espionage, and psychological manipulation. Virith wasn't just there to secure the map.
Virith was there to potentially replace someone of importance, or perhaps to ensure Grol remained compliant.
Precisely. And let's focus on Ohio Jim's reaction. You said he was stunned. The critique noted this was psychological warfare information denial. When a highly trained tactical mind, like Ohio Jim's, sees an ally instantly replicated by an enemy, it doesn't just cause confusion, it causes strategic paralysis.
You're suddenly faced with two identical threats.
One of which you know is an enemy, and the other who you know is an ally lying unconscious nearby. Which one do you target? Who is the threat? The instantaneous shift from human to Valindra's twin is a powerful weapon in itself, designed to freeze the party's tactical instincts for those vital, fatal seconds.
And this shock happens at the same time as the immediate fallout outside the door. Turin, waiting for the signal, heard the roaring, the spell blast, and the subsequent violence.
He burst into the adjacent hobgoblin guard room, forcing the issue.
Which caused a chain reaction, with one guard immediately fleeing down the hallway away from the core confrontation. The main conflict was now public, chaotic, and about to attract far worse attention than two hobgoblins.
This is where strategic plans dissolve into sheer survival instinct.
Absolutely. Just when the party had identified their two main targets, the Bugbear King and the shape-shifting spy, the situation escalated into an absolute catastrophe. That momentary relief they felt when the hobgoblin fled down the hallway was immediately replaced by sheer dread.
The source material indicates that the fleeing guard's path led directly to the castle's most dangerous security feature, one they had failed to detect in their initial reconnaissance. The internal fight of the castle suddenly became a matter of avoiding immediate existential collateral damage from a far more formidable non-negotiable creature.
Terrifying is the only word. We have the description of the arrival of the Suneater Owlbear, a massive, terrifying creature, not just a normal owlbear, but one mutated or corrupted. It burst into the chamber from that same hallway the hobgoblin had just fled down.
And here is the chilling, visceral detail. A sickening crunch and a strangled scream preceded its arrival.
Which strongly suggests it had just dispatched the fleeing guard in the dark hall, confirming its brutal efficiency.
We have to analyze the specific designation. A Suneater Owlbear, its eyes glowing with blinding radiant energy. This implies a magical or divine corruption, something far beyond a typical monstrous beast. Radiant energy in this context often suggests celestial influence, or perhaps a potent magical artifact's lingering corruption. This wasn't just a big brute. It introduced an element of raw, potentially holy terror into the fight.
It fundamentally changed the nature of the threat from mere physical savagery to magical devastation.
And the fight instantly escalated into a whirlwind of violence. The party, scrambling to deal with the remaining hobgoblin in the room while recovering from the doppelganger shock, suddenly found themselves outpaced. The owlbear was exponentially faster and more devastating than anyone could have anticipated.
It unleashed a blinding, focused, radiant blast of energy that struck Ohio Jim, who was still dealing with the psychological shock of Virith's transformation. The blast was so powerful it felled him immediately into unconsciousness.
And that event confirms the superior threat level. Ohio Jim, the nimble rogue who relies on positioning and speed, was taken out by a single blast of radiant power. This forces the entire party to reprioritize. Grol and the doppelganger are still active, still threats, but the owlbear is the immediate, non-negotiable existential crisis demanding total focus.
But then, amidst the screaming and the magical blasts, the dynamics of the three-way fight became completely fluid and unpredictable. King Grol, who had been focused on his captive and perhaps recovering from Valindra's initial strike, even quietly stroking his wolf amidst the chaos.
Right, I forgot about the wolf.
He suddenly launched an attack, not at the invaders, but at Virith, the shapeshifter.
This is the moment we pivot from confrontation to complete collapse of the conspiracy. Grol, the Black Spider's operative, turned on Virith, the Black Spider's agent. The source suggests Grol was enraged, not by the invaders, but by the doppelganger's relentless, unnerving taunts. Virith seemed to treat Grol with genuine, open contempt, even as Grol sat in his own chamber.
So this wasn't calculated strategy, it was pride. Grol, despite his savagery, possessed the pride of a king, and Virith's arrogance pushed him over the edge.
Precisely. It's the difference between calculated malice and unchecked arrogance on the part of Virith. The doppelganger, confident in her superior intelligence and magical ability, simply couldn't tolerate giving Grol the respect he demanded, even temporarily. Grol's rage meant Virith was now fighting both the party and her own ally.
And Virith demonstrated incredible cunning in response. Even while fighting Grol, she maintained focus on the overall combat dynamics. She used magic, likely capitalizing on a conjured fog that one of the party members, Imogen, had cast earlier for cover to manipulate the terrain.
She managed to successfully charm King Grol and commanded him to move directly into that heavy, disorienting fog bank. It was a lethal, beautifully executed tactical trap. Grol was now disoriented, blind, and stumbling.
And the Suneater Owlbear, drawn by the scent of battle and the raw magical energy, swiftly moved in.
It made short work of the disoriented bugbear king in the obscuring fog. Grol, the leader of the Cragmaw tribe, the linchpin of the Black Spider's local operations, was dead. He was killed not by the invading party, but by the chaotic three-way intervention of two magical threats.
That is a staggering turn of events. The Black Spider's primary liaison, eliminated by a tactical blunder exacerbated by a rogue monster.
And Virith's final desperate act speaks volumes about her operational mindset. Seeing her entire plan collapsing, the doppelganger made a dramatic, high-risk last stand. She transformed into a replica of the very Suneater Owlbear that had just killed Grol.
An attempt to intimidate, or maybe just to survive the escalating violence?
But as you pointed out, the sheer futility of the gesture was immediate. Shapeshifting into a replica of a massive, powerful predator is an aggressive challenge in the animal kingdom, and the original true Suneater Owlbear clearly perceived it as such. It instantly turned its wrath on the imposter, swiftly killing Virith.
So with that final, brutal engagement, the primary Black Spider agent was eliminated. King Grol was dead.
And the original owlbear, injured from the intense fighting but seemingly sated by the carnage, it just lumbered away the way it had come, vanishing back into the dark hallways. It left behind a chamber littered with bloodied bodies, stunned, battered, and miraculously surviving adventurers. and a deafening, sudden silence.
The sound of silence after that level of pure, concentrated mayhem must have been the most jarring moment of all.
I can only imagine.
So the chaos stopped as abruptly as it began. The party, battered, bruised, and nursing serious injuries but miraculously alive, paused to survey the incredible carnage. King Grol lay dead, the Black Spider's agent Virith eliminated, and Gundren was still captive but alive.
They had achieved the primary objective through sheer terrifying luck, but they were now in the heart of a hostile castle. They expected the entire castle garrison to descend upon them for immediate, brutal revenge.
And the reaction of the remaining Cragmaw forces provides one of the most critical and unexpected shifts in the entire narrative, right? It confirmed that the hierarchy of loyalty within the tribe was intensely personal and based on King Grol's magnetic, if brutal, personality.
It wasn't a structured military command, not at all.
How many goblins did we say arrived?
The source material is emphatic. A horde. Many, many, many of them soon arrived, drawn by the noise, the magical discharge, and the pervasive scent of blood. Upon learning of King Grol's demise, the unthinkable happened. They did not organize for an attack. They did not seek revenge.
Instead, they erupted into deep, piercing wails of mourning, immediately setting about preparing their fallen leader for an elaborate, ritualistic enshrining. Their loyalty was intensely focused on the individual King Grol, overriding any instinct for tactical defense or immediate retribution against the people literally standing over his corpse.
This is a phenomenal, unearned window of respite. The immediate emotional response of the tribe completely trumped their strategic impulse. The party, surrounded by hundreds of grieving, disorganized goblins focused entirely on funeral rites, could finally assess the successful, albeit chaotic, mission. This is the moment where the strategic intelligence gathering takes priority.
And amidst the grief and the ritualistic chaos, they acted fast, swiftly looting the area, confirming the vital intelligence they needed and the payoff for the entire brutal encounter. Let's break down the spoils because the information gathered is as valuable as the map itself.
Absolutely. The spoils of war yielded immediate confirmation of their adversary's identity and allegiance, and hints about the Black Spider's operational methods.
So Turin, always resourceful and practical, claimed a small, beautifully ornate dagger. It had a dark, polished blade that was clearly poisoned, retrieved directly from the fallen imposter.
And the poisoned dagger is a chilling detail. That confirms the shapeshifter's identity, Virith, but it also raises critical questions about Black Spider protocol. Was Virith carrying that poison blade for self-defense against the adventurers? Or was Virith prepared to handle Grol if the Bugbear King stepped out of line?
If he betrayed the Black Spider or tried to claim the map for himself?
Exactly. The use of poison suggests Virith wasn't just an informant. She was an assassin ready to neutralize targets, allied or otherwise.
That introduces a fascinating dynamic, implying that Virith might have viewed Grol as disposable even before the fight started.
It speaks to the brutal efficiency of the Black Spider's operation. No loose ends, even if those ends are your current regional strongman.
Moving beyond the dagger, Valindra's discovery focused on the financial and political motivation behind King Grol. She found a heavy chest containing a significant haul of currency, 220 silver pieces and 160 electrum pieces, alongside old, regal-looking clothes.
The clothes and the money speak volumes about Grol's personal goals. He wasn't just a tribal thug. He was looking to consolidate power, perhaps even establish a small, legitimate-looking kingdom. The electrum and the regal attire suggest he was preparing for a move up the social ladder, likely using the Black Spider's resources and the promise of the map to fund his little empire.
And that list they found detailing his personal, territorial ambitions for ruling the Cragmaw confirms this. Grol was planning for a political future.
Which means his death creates an immediate power vacuum that affects the entire region. He wasn't just an employee, he was a junior partner with his own aspirations. By eliminating him, the party didn't just kill a king, they neutralized a nascent political threat fueled by the Black Spider.
And this ties back to the critique of Virith's contempt, doesn't it? Virith, the superior operative, likely saw through Grol's pathetic little dreams of kingship, which only heightened the tensions that led to the fatal conflict.
Absolutely.
But the true treasure, the object of the entire brutal hunt, was also recovered. Critical notes and, most importantly, the map that everyone has been fighting over since the initial ambush on the Tribor Trail.
Retrieving the map, the very reason Gundren was captured, the reason Virith was here, the reason Grol was compromised, is the definitive success of the mission, overriding the sheer trauma of the confrontation. The map, now in the party's hands, provides the pathway to the next stage of the conspiracy, the next location of the Black Spider, and the ultimate goal that has driven this entire search.
Other smaller treasures rounded out the hall, including a jewel necklace and a silver ring, and Plepdel, amidst the chaos and the gore, found a scroll of sleep.
A scroll that can put creatures into a deep, magical slumber. A fitting, ironic counterpoint to the wild mayhem that had just ended, offering a means to perhaps find some quiet, non-violent resolution later, though they are currently surrounded by grieving goblins.
If we connect this staggering success back to the bigger picture, the mission succeeded despite the catastrophic fight. They have rescued Gundren, though he is severely injured and will require immediate medical attention, retrieved the map, and, crucially, eliminated Virith, a key operative, and King Grol, a major collaborator of the Black Spider.
The sheer depth of the conspiracy, confirmed by the involvement of shapeshifters, is now undeniable, and the Black Spider has taken a major strategic loss. The Black Spider is now strategically blind in this specific region. Virith's death isn't just a dead asset, it represents a massive failure in intelligence gathering and command structure.
It forces the Black Spider to do what? Deploy another asset.
Either deploy a known asset risking exposure, or risk the entire operation collapsing locally. The party has just dramatically reshaped the strategic landscape.
So, what does this all mean for the immediate future? The Cragmaw tribe is now headless, immediately engulfed in mourning rituals instead of seeking revenge against the people standing right there, covered in the blood of their king. The Black Spider has lost a crucial asset in her immediate communication link. The party is battered, exhausted, surrounded by hundreds of grieving, armed goblins, and holding the single most important object in the region, a map that everyone wants.
The critical question for the party is tactical. Will this sudden power vacuum, this chaotic goblin wake, grant them the time they need to escape the castle safely and get Gundren the help he needs? Or will the greater, more calculating power of the Black Spider descend upon a leaderless castle to retrieve what was stolen, catching the exhausted adventurers in the crossfire? The silence in the throne room is not peace. It is merely the pause before the next, perhaps far greater storm. What stands out to you as the most immediate peril they face in that silence?